Greetings YouTube, Simon here, and I came across this article recently on Siliconera.com where some of the staff from the website were able to sit down at a recent Comic-Con event in Hong Kong and chat with the producer Yoshinari Kataze of the remake and actually get first-hand experience at spectating the opening bombing mission, the entirety of that mission in its entirety, as it's going to take place in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I will leave a link to this article down in the description below. Now, some of this information is stuff that we already know about. After all, we have witnessed parts of the opening bombing mission in the various trailers and what have you that came out of E3 recently. But because they got to watch the entirety of this particular part of the game, they've been able to share a few bits of information, especially in terms of the characterisation of the various, members of the cast and what have you, that, perhaps we haven't really been privy to up until now. Now, unfortunately, a lot of this footage, in fact, any of this footage has not been made publicly available, so we can only go on what we're being told here, but it is enough to get me excited. As always, want to give a shout out to everybody who supports me on Patreon or as a YouTube member, and if you're interested in signing up to these, I'll leave links to them in the video description. You get pretty cool rewards and it's a great way to support the channel, so thank you so very much. Now, let's make a start here. We've got this paragraph which begins talking about the introductory scene to the game itself. Well, actually, just after that opening cutscene where Cloud jumps off the train. And it talks about how his relationship with Barret begins, which is quite interesting, actually. When they first get off the train, Barret is much more hostile and distrusting of Cloud than in the original game. Now, that's quite interesting to me straight from the get-go. Because let's be honest, Barret wasn't exactly nice to Cloud in the original game. He was swearing at him, saying he doesn't trust him, telling him, to shut up and all of this good stuff. So they seem to have expanded upon that in the remake and made it even more vitriolic, the kind of attitude that Cloud's getting from Barret. He really, really does not like this guy. Makes me think that perhaps there's something else there. There's a little bit of history between Barret and Cloud, and we know that Cloud, would have known Barret and Tifa before these events. So there's a little bit of history there that maybe the game will expand upon as we get further into the remake. So when they first got off the train, okay, we read that bit. Now here Barret says that one misstep and he'll shoot Cloud down. So yeah, he's really not fond of the spiky-haired hero here, is he? Meanwhile, Jesse is much more exasperated at how loud and distrusting Barret is being. So it sounds to me like Barret is perhaps, causing a little bit of trouble here because he just really cannot stand Cloud. I just kind of wonder why he's let Cloud even come on the mission. I guess he really felt like he had no choice. They needed the help here. But it could be detrimental to the mission if Barret is not being quiet, he's not being sneaky, he's just being very loud and upsetting poor Jesse, who seems to have some kind of feeling and emotion towards Cloud, as others have suggested. While Cloud splits from the rest of the crew midway to not get caught, he rejoins them when they begin opening the doors to reach the reactor, and then the game goes into a cutscene. While Biggs is sceptical of Cloud's abilities, Wedge is more friendly and shoots Cloud a thumbs up that Cloud clearly has no idea how to respond to. Yeah, I like the way here that each member of Avalanche seems to have his or her own personality. Perhaps that wasn't something that the game was able to dwell on too much in the original iteration because they were only there for the, as a supporting cast for the first part of the game. But because the entire first part of the remake, or the first game of the remake, is going to be dwelt on Midgar, it makes sense that these three characters, Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, are going to be, much more important to the story. They're going to be much more defining in their supporting roles, and as I've suggested perhaps in the past, could very well themselves be part of the playable party. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be, seeing as how they will be with us through the bulk of the game. These parts really help flesh out the relationships between the crew in ways that weren't achieved in the original. And that's something I'm very, very much looking forward to. As a matter of fact, out of everything that we know is going to be happening in the remake, and we don't know everything yet, we don't even know a lot, but out of everything we know that's changing from the original game, the one thing I'm super excited about is how the rebel group Avalanche, in particular those three members, Biggs, Wedge and Jesse, are going to be expanded upon and utilised in the remake. If it turns out they're not going to end up being used all that much, then I'm going to be severely disappointed, but I don't expect that's going to happen. I do think Square are going to be putting a big focus on those characters, and I really cannot wait to see how they work out and play a role in the game. The elevator sequence with Cloud, Barret, Jesse is also expanded upon. While waiting for the elevator to arrive, Jesse notes that Tifa was adamant on recommending Cloud for the job and asks what Cloud's relationship with Tifa is. Cloud is clearly struggling to come up with an appropriate reply, but is saved by the arrival of the elevator. Again, we have heard rumours that there is definitely a romantic chemistry between Jesse and Cloud, at least coming from Jesse's point of view. Whether Cloud's reciprocal of that, we're not totally sure yet. But it seems that, she seems a little bit too interested in why it is that Tifa would have recommended Cloud. She seems to like him for sure. Inside, Barret gives his spiel about the world dying from Mako overconsumption. By the way, I should mention that I think if that is the case, if Jesse does have a romantic interest in Cloud, that is a completely new plot line to Final Fantasy VII, because that wasn't even hinted at in the original game. As a matter of fact, I remember in the original game when they meet up with Cloud, she cleans his face and stuff because he's a little bit dirty. She takes on a much more motherly role to Cloud in the original game. She cares for him for sure. She likes him. There's no question about that. But I certainly don't get any hint of any romantic interest from Jesse's point of view. So that would definitely be a new approach that they're taking here in the remake. And I do like this bit. So inside, Barret gives his spiel about the world dying from Mako overconsumption, but goes full ham and mentions that he can hear the world crying for help, to which Cloud snarks that Barret should go see a doctor. Oh, I love that, because that is just Cloud all over. It's his dry sense of humour, especially because he knows that Barret really cannot stand him. And Barret's probably not far off from, smacking him round the face. So the fact that Cloud would respond like that is just, like I say, it's Cloud all over, and I cannot wait to see these kinds of interactions play out in the game. These moments of levity help lighten the tense mood and also harken back to Cloud's depiction in the original game, where he wasn't without a sense of humour. Leaving the elevator, Barret finally joins the party, and Katazi explained how his long-range Gatling... Okay, so we're just talking a little bit there about the various combat mechanics which we have seen, so I won't harp on about that. Finally, Cloud and Barret reach the ladders leading to the bottom of the reactor, which leads to the Scorpion boss we've seen since E3. So it certainly sounds to me like this is definitely paying homage to the original Final Fantasy VII, without question, but virtually everything's been expanded upon. Though it doesn't talk about how long this particular gameplay demo was that Siliconera were able to view. I suspect it's probably going to be about an hour and a half, this opening section, perhaps including the Guard Scorpion Sentinel as it's now known, compared to about, 20-25 minutes in the original game, to go through that opening bombing mission. So I suspect as well, in fact it's all but confirmed, that every other part of the game is going to be expanded upon in a similar fashion. But yeah, one of the things I'm very, very much looking forward to, especially after reading this article, is all of the characterizations and how characters are going to have relationships with one another, and I obviously expect those to be in the same kind of relationships that we saw in the original game, but there may be some differences here and there, like the fact that Jesse is going to be set up as a potential romantic interest for Cloud, even though, as I say, that was not a situation in the original game. But yeah, please do share your thoughts, guys, on what you think of some of this stuff down in the comment section. Is Square, in your view, it's okay to disagree with me, is Square taking things in the right direction, or do you think they need to be, keeping things a little bit closer to the original? I'm sure there are some of you who feel that way, and that's absolutely fine. Or are you happy with them taking the liberties that they've been taking here and expanded upon the various characters in the way it seems that they're doing? As always, guys, any further news on the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Remake, I will leave, I'll share with you. I'll post future videos and what have you. But hopefully you guys have found this enjoyable. I'm very much hyped for the remake myself, and yep, as the article reminds us, it's coming to PS4 on March 3rd, 2020, so actually really not that far away now, guys, at all. That's, what, about 7 months away. So, yeah, it'll be here before we know it, I'm sure. And of course, when the game comes out, I will be covering it in every single way that I can. Lots of gameplay videos and everything else on my YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already and hit that bell notification. And I'm going to scour the internet now, see what else I can find to share with you folks. Oh, I can't wait. All right, take care everybody. Have a fantastic day. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Sounds like you're having fun.